Hi everybody, Vegas Film Critic here, Jeffrey K. Howard, here to talk about Hail Caesar, the new Coen brothers film. A little background, a little preface here before I get to my review. No one is a bigger fan of the Coen brothers than me. I mean, here, take a look. You probably noticed behind me, if you're a fan of the channel, here is my official championship bowling pin that I went to get at a pro shop. And the Coen brothers never do interviews. I mean, never do interviews, let alone television interviews. And I got to talk to them in 2003 for Intolerable Cruelty. And when I found out I was going to speak to them for 10 minutes, I'm a big Lebowski fanatic. And so I went and got a championship bowling pin. This is, what's the word? This is regulation. And look at that. Signed to me. Can you see it? One of the most prized possessions in my collection. It's always behind me now if you watch the thing. And not only that, I went to Lebowski Fest. Look at that. Here in Las Vegas, and the date was February 28th, 2004 in Las Vegas. Look at that. So look, I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan. I got a poster for this too. I mean, as far back as I can remember. I mean, I know every line to Raising Arizona, every word to Barton Fink, every word to Fargo. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, I'm just a tremendous Coen Brothers fan. And so it's with heavy heart that, you know, first of all, one of my biggest blunders in my career is for Fargo. I hated Fargo. When that movie came out, Siskel and Ebert gave it the best picture of the year and it won all the Oscars, and I just didn't understand it at all. And now it's one of my biggest regrets because I think it's, you know, a masterpiece, like all the Coen Brothers films are. But that is a masterpiece. And also Barton Fink. I think I've watched it 3 or 4 times this year alone in 2016. It's only February 2nd. So I'm a huge fan of the Coen Brothers. Have I gushed enough about knowing the Coen Brothers and meeting them and just talking about them in general? So let's get to Hail Caesar. I made notes. I just saw the movie like an hour ago. So, you know, one thing I've learned about the Coen brothers is their movies demand multiple viewings. So I'm really kind of scared. You know, I'm talking to other critics around the country. You know, we're emailing each other back and forth. What did you think of the film? What did you think? Did this make sense? Is this, you know, vintage Coen brothers, or what is going on with this movie? So overall, Hail Caesar is a mystery comedy, if you want to say. I'm trying to figure out how to even classify this movie. It's a mystery comedy that takes place in the early 1950s, and it's centered around Josh Brolin, who's Eddie Mannix. Cool theme song, huh? Eddie Mannix, who's a fixer. And if you don't know what a fixer is, in the 1950s when the stars strayed, got pregnant, did drugs, on all-night binger, got in a car wreck, if they needed someone to come and keep it all hush-hush and whoosh-whoosh. And he plays the fixer that does that. He makes problems, he fixes problems for the studio. So one of their big stars, their biggest star at Capitol Pictures, wink wink, hey, Barton Fink, at Capitol Pictures is kidnapped, George Clooney. And he's Baird Whitlock, is that his name? So many stars in this movie, I have to cheat over here. Baird Whitlock, played by George Clooney, he's kidnapped by The Future, a secret group called The Future who's demanding $100,000. And in the middle of all this, they're shooting Hail Caesar, this big Christian Jesus telling story. You know, it's like the greatest story ever told. And he's one of the centurions that followed Jesus. You know, we'll figure, it's a movie within a movie, right? That kind of thing. So he's kidnapped and taken hostage until they pay $100,000. Now I'm going to try to discuss the movie, but we have to talk about the characters and the ton of movie stars that are in this film. Got my cheat sheet over here. Let's start with Ralph Fiennes, who plays, I mean, these names are outrageous. Lawrence Lawrence, who's a movie director, who's embroiled in a past kind of scandal, which we won't say what it's about. There's a lot of things I'm not going to give away as spoilers if you Coen Brothers fanatics. So he plays this movie director. His performance, I don't know, it just kind of lays there. I mean, nothing special. Also, Alden Ehrenreich, who plays Hobie Doyle. He was the character where he was a wrangler, and then they found out he could sing, so now he's a singing cowboy, and his movies are really popular. He was so enduring that I wanted like more of his story. There's kind of like little subplots that go off that never kind of resolve themselves, but the main one is the kidnapping and George Clooney, so that's kind of like, you know, hanging overhead the whole movie, but then you start going off these little different vignettes, and you're just kind of like, wow, that's more interesting than the kidnapping, or this is a really creative character you. Let's go with this. You know, it could have been 3 hours long, but it wasn't. It was like maybe 100 minutes. Let's go with Tilda Swinton, who plays identical twin sisters who are journalists, gossip columnists, and one who's not a gossip columnist. It's hard to tell apart just because of their outfits. And listen to their name. Got to cheat here because I'm blind. Thora and Fessy Thacker. Say that 30 times fast. And then we have, of course, Channing Tatum, who's Bert Gurney. Definitely an influence by Gene Kelly. He's shooting a movie in a sailor outfit, and you've probably seen the commercial, you know, where they're dancing around. So there's this whole musical number he does, but it doesn't seem to really come together. It doesn't wow you. It just kind of lays there. Gosh, there's so many eggs in this movie. And of course, Scarlett Johansson is an Esther Williams type. And a couple cameos. One of my all-time favorite actors since I was forever is Clancy Brown. He plays a centurion at the where Jesus is being crucified. But Clancy Brown is great. Remember him in Starship Troopers and Highlander and definitely Bad Boys and with Sean Penn. Remember that film from the 80s? Clancy Brown and also Newman, you know, from Seinfeld. Wayne Knight, he's also has a little cameo. There's a ton of cameos in this movie, lots of them. But those were all the big stars. And so overall, I'm really mixed on this film. I just didn't understand where it was going. I didn't understand the money they spent on this. Everything looked fantastic. It looked like Hollywood in the 1950s, almost kind of like they were trying to do a parody of Trumbo. That's the only thing I could think of, because right now communism in the early 50s is like a hot Hollywood theme right now. So watching this movie, it was so many different directions. And sometimes when a Coen Brothers movie is not beginning, middle, and end, you know, you kind of understand that. But it's their calling card or their style. But for some reason, Hail Caesar didn't do that at all. You were trying to question yourself, what is going on here? And there was no resolution. The ending really just didn't sum up anything. There was so many loose ends. It's like they cut out 2 hours of this movie. Or something like that. I want to see it again. I really do. But my first initial reaction is, boy, I didn't like this. I really didn't. And it just pains me because I am such a big fan of theirs. And I was looking for something in this movie. Something, you know, and I didn't find it. I was bored. I think I fell asleep for 10 minutes too. I really did. Now that is really a ringing endorsement for Hail Caesar. Sorry guys, you fell, you stumbled. I don't understand what you're doing with this. I really don't. I don't understand the concept. I don't understand anything you did in this movie, and nothing worked, in my opinion. And I say that with a grain of salt. It really tears me up to trash a Coen Brothers movie. But I did. Sorry. All right, for more reviews and interviews, just surf on over to my website, vegasfilmcritic.com. That's if you still like me, you know, I'm telling it like it is. What else do I want you to do? Tell me your favorite Coen Brothers movie. I mean, comment below. I'd love to know what your favorite Coen Brothers movie is. I love Barton Fink. God, I love John Goodman in that. Gosh, I wish he won the Academy Award for that. Love Barton Fink. Another thing about the dialogue, real quick, going back real quick, there was nothing snappy. There was nothing Coen-esque about the dialogue at all. There wasn't. There was maybe one or two scenes where there was a hint of Coen-type dialogue, but it just didn't wrap around it. Was I giving out my website, vegasfilmcritic.com? Comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. I'm bummed out. I'm going to go watch Raising Arizona. Why aren't you breastfeeding? Great morning flakes, Miss High. Gosh, pains me, guys. It pains me to tell you how bad this movie is. I'm Jeffrey K. Howard. I'm going to have a bucket of ice cream and watch Raising Arizona. I'll see you next time.